Hello and welcome to the Fosterdaddirective podcast. My name is Charles, and today we'll be chatting about being a parent and doing night shift. This is kind of my maiden voyage of doing this on Twitch. I figure I could get a little more interactive and have people drop suggestions as I kind of get listeners. I do have a few that seems from whatever the metrics are. I honestly don't know how to read them, but I figured it'd make it a little more interactive, allow for it to be a little more enjoyable. I am trying to set up a guest. Hopefully he has actually responded, so I'm hoping that one will actually turn out. I'm going to read his book, do an episode on that, and hopefully get him on for an interview. As if you haven't listened in a while, or this is one of your first newer episodes, I'm changing it a little bit. My first little brainstorm was to do a podcast just about the foster care system. That's a little restrictive. There's not a lot of fun that you can have with that. It's a lot of rules, regulations, boring stuff that happens, kind of the sad stories that I do have to share. So I kind of wanted to change it and do parenting in general. I want to do an episode on buying a house. I know when I bought this house that I am in, there was a lot of stuff I really wish I would have known, and I would not have had to sink so much money into this place. So there's things like that I'd like to know. Monthly maintenance. What maintenance are you missing out on that you could be doing to upkeep the appliances around your house? You know, your water heater, do you drain that every month? Do you change your furnace filter on time? Do you spray out your central air conditioner or air conditioning unit coils? There's all kinds of stuff such as that. How to change oil in a lawnmower, what kind of tools are best. So I figured it'd be a lot more fun to kind of do a whole dad type episode, because I am a first-time parent since we started fostering, so I have about 3 years, and we jumped into it with an 18-year-old foster kid at the beginning, which is because she was still in the foster care system technically until she graduated school and could be in there till 21 if she continued with schooling, working, or similar little requirements such as that. But I kind of want to do just fathering in general. There's a lot of books I've found that have been super helpful. A lot of things that not just foster parents go through. We've had to do ADHD testing on some of the kids. We've had to do occupational therapy. There's just so much different stuff that if I were not a first-time parent, if I were a first-time parent and didn't have the resources such as the foster care system pushing to help with those in what limited manner they sometimes do, I'd be completely lost. I never would know what to do, how to set things up. So I want to do that to help other, first-time parents, but I also want to maintain, trying to help any foster parents or foster kids get resources that they need. So it's going to be pretty mixed. There might be episodes you enjoy, episodes you don't. I haven't really gotten any feedback on the podcast, so unfortunately, I haven't really changed anything, but I'm kind of doing what I can right now to adjust it how I see fit as I keep going forward. As always, please remember I'm not a trained professional on any of these topics. The views expressed here are my own, so please do your own due diligence and research when looking into this information, and it may vary state to state, even county to county. I mean, here in Grand Rapids, it may be city to city, to be honest. It just really all depends on what's in your area, what resources are available, so please make sure to look out for your specific area. And if you send them in, I will update them to either like the Facebook pages or whichever social media seems to help with what you're currently on. So I try to limit mine. So I've been failing a little bit on doing socials for the podcast, and I did limit it down to one. I kind of put my other podcast on halt. That one was about addiction. I come from a family of addicts. I quit smoking almost 2 years ago, and then I'm trying to fully phase out drinking. So I'm going to kind of wrap that one in here a little bit. Probably not too much. I don't want to make this one too wild. I want it to be more of a fostering podcast. But if there's any topics such as that you'd like to hear, please let me know. And for this one, I'm going to talk about working third shift, why I do it. For being a foster parent, there's honestly no way I'd be able to work a typical day shift job. honestly, there are times when I have so many appointments that I'm lucky to get the sleep I do get, and sometimes going to work with 3-4 hours of sleep at most because of appointments. There was a time when we had the toddler, so he didn't go to school and we didn't have childcare yet, so I was pretty much trying to look after him while also getting a few hours of sleep in. There are different appointments, the dog's nails, the kids, meeting with anyone who's going to do work on the house, electricians, plumbers, if any of the utilities have to come out and do their checks, all that stuff. Plus, everyone's awake during the day, so texts, notifications. I volunteer as the finance officer for one of the local American Legion posts. So I have that, which you can only do really during banking hours in terms of depositing checks, cash, contacting. We had to be audited one year, so there was interacting with the accountant and trying to get with the IRS. So there's so much that takes a toll on you when you're sleeping. So it can be extremely exhausting, and not to mention the emotional toll, because once you start getting physically tired, it also starts hitting into your emotional and mental state. You get exhausted, get kind of snippy sometimes, and I've been doing my best to actually avoid that and realize, when I'm in a bad mood, when I just need to go take a moment, and then pulling myself together and remembering I'm an adult and I need to get myself together and make sure that the kids have an attentive parent, even if I am exhausted. They didn't force me to take them in, so I try to remember that. I try to not miss many moments so I can take a toll. I know they had a little choir concert and I accidentally fell asleep during it because during the time we were working 10-hour shifts 5 days a week, plus all the appointments that they had, then trying to be a new parent to kids so young. I mean, the girls are 2 years apart in age, so they are wild. Trying to spend time with my wife, trying to take care of all the things around the house, cleaning, home maintenance, everything. So while I don't mind third shift, I would definitely love a day shift job, 100%. So this is kind of going to be talking about how I try to handle working night shift and going over some of these reasons on why I do. I mean, it's really hard to explain to a lot of people, like, what your work day looks like when you start work when your kids are going to bed, because it means I miss out on quite a few things. I plan on doing these streams at about 8. That's when the girls go to bed, so that I can get them edited, and then get to work at 11 p.m. I get out at 7 a.m., get them on the bus by 8:40, and then I have to try to get in as much sleep or housework that needs to be done while they're not here before 4 p.m. when they get home. So it can be a little exhausting. Sleep deprivation is one of the biggest things, and I've been trying to be better on that. I do have a dog too, and I make the mistake of he wants to cuddle in the morning, so I'll leave my door open, but then around 1, he wants to wake me up so he can go outside and stare at the squirrels and the birds, and it really does not help your sleep. So one of my biggest suggestions that I've learned is I leave my ringer on, but turn my notifications completely off. There's if you're not going to call me, there's no notification really worth waking me up for. I've been making sure that I don't really let him out right before I go to bed. That way there's no reason for him to come out, and then I kind of shoo him the last couple of days, and he's been getting better about not waking me up. Now it's just, that aging bladder that I have to worry about, and making sure I get through the sleep in there. Like I mentioned earlier, there's just so much that can interrupt your sleep that you want to avoid it. I try to make appointments as early or as late in my sleep time as I can, depending on if I have to get the girls from school or if Cassie's going to get them. We really have no control over their therapy sessions. That unfortunately kind of falls on when their therapists are available. Thankfully, both of the girls we have now are actually the older girl, her therapist gets her during the school day. The other one's is at like 5:30, so we have plenty of time. Well, not plenty of time, but we have time to get dinner and everything before we have to have her to school. And all of this just leads to so much different, like, fatigue. I've tried in the past to do things during the day where it will help later on at night have some free time, such as house maintenance, cleaning. But all I found is that just leads to like chronic fatigue and exhaustion, because say I'm up till noon, I sleep till 4. Once the girls get home, there's not much sleeping after that. I can try all I want, but it's going to be loud. There's them moving around, my roommate, the 3 dogs. It's just a big giant bundle of chaos. So my suggestion is, as soon as you can get to sleep, do it. I can do chores with them. The biggest thing is they're going to hound me to either help or ask a billion questions. I found that is far preferred compared to actually doing it when no one's home and then just being flat out exhausted later, because once you start hitting that chronic exhaustion, you just run into so many, like, you become mentally foggy. You're physically present but zoned out. I've been limiting my social media to try to help with not just sitting there and zoning out on my phone. And I've noticed since I've started doing this, I've started trying to lightly work out. I'll either do a walk or light stretches and a workout in the morning, and then do a walk in the afternoon with the girls, and then play basketball with them. I've noticed a lot more energy lately, and I've been chronically out of shape for a long time. I kind of got out of shape once I left the Army. Fast food became my friend because I was working, going to school full time. Plus, at the time, single guy, so there wasn't really much of a reason to cook. I mean, it's all taken its toll. It causes irritability, memory issues, and just flat burnout. I'm pretty sure that's part of the reason why I didn't stay working at the prison, because I was so exhausted and I was burned out by the end. And then missing the sleep because you worked all night, it takes its toll when you're trying to do those school events or when children get sick. I know the toddler we had came home sick constantly, and when he didn't have daycare, it was up to me, because my wife's a teacher, so she's working during the day, and that ends up taking its toll on you. You'll end up being exhausted, just worn out, plus you're not really good to him, because then you're trying to sleep once your significant other, or if you're doing it by yourself, just know you are honestly a superhero, because I always thought it was cheesy where they're like, single moms are one of the hardest jobs. I can kind of see it now. It is absolutely exhausting, especially if you don't get much free time, because by the time you get the kids to bed, I'm sure your whole outlook on that is trying to get some sleep so you can take care of yourself to get up and take care of them again. It's just absolutely bonkers and mind-opening. And on that, you miss the traditional family time when you are working night shift. Sometimes I do sleep through when they get home if I'm really exhausted. I'm working not really when my family's winding down, but once they're already in bed, and then I'm getting home as they get up. There's been times where I worked second shift where I missed dinners, I missed bedtime routines, activities, sports. And then you feel guilty about doing it. You're sitting there trying to do what's best for your family and support them and make sure you have money and everything, but then missing out on the things that the kids find important and want to happen. And you feel kind of like a ghost parent. You're just essentially there in general. So I've tried to make more time to spend time with the girls, because it's one of those things where I used to try to maintain my night shift schedule on the weekends, but then I miss out on everything because they're up at 9. So if I go to bed super late, then I'm just sleeping throughout the day, and especially because we're starting camping up again, then I miss out on most of the day. And that just absolutely sucks, because then by the time I do get up, it's about time for them to go back to bed. So that's exhausting. I really haven't found a good way for that. If you have a suggestion or what you do to kind of what I'd consider like a swing shift for the weekends, please send that in, because I'd love to have some ideas on what I could do to actually do all that. And then just that feeling in general of providing yet being absolutely distanced from everybody. And it puts a strain on your partner as well. You don't get time, even with being a parent, you barely get time alone together. You don't get to see each other, sit down and have chats. I mean, I've started scheduling, so after this, it'll be an hour that I'm going to set aside to, spend time with my wife, and then even just relax, watch a movie or read a book, because I've been getting more into book reading. But I've noticed that I've never scheduled anything in my life. Really, I'll do in my calendar, but my days aren't scheduled out. So it's kind of just whatever happens. And then I spent part of my downtime last night at work writing up a schedule of I get the girls on the bus at 8:40. I could hit a walk right after that, come back, do some light stretches, quick workout, head to bed, get back up when the girls get home, do A, B, C, and D, spend time with them, spend time with her. So I've found that to be something that I want to try. I honestly just did it last night, but today it seemed to kind of rein in my day. I didn't have as much wasted time from what I felt like. And then I think this will help with my sleep, getting that in line, and kind of help us see eye to eye a little more, because for a big portion of fostering, we've, kind of not really seen eye to eye because we don't really communicate that much because we're on different shifts, and then it's not always complete communication. So it's one of those things that I definitely want to work on as well and help so neither of us feel overloaded and that the other person is not doing enough or doing too much. And I just want to make sure that happens. Also, childcare challenges. That was a big one. If you are a foster parent, just know as long as you need the help, it's almost always, and I say almost always, guaranteed that you'll get the child, I can't remember what it's called. It's through the MDHHS. It's where they pay for the childcare. We had to pay $50 a week, I think. But it will help as long as you can justify why you need it. And even working thirds and providing that paper, I had to get a paper from my employer saying what shift I worked and then explain to the state why we needed it, because my wife worked first, I worked third, so I needed to sleep during that time. So they were able to provide it. And since daycare doesn't often align with work schedules, I mean, that's one of the stressful things about night shift too, is if my job I have now wasn't so understanding, I would be absolutely screwed, honestly, because there are days when I have to come home because my wife has a meeting or she has to leave early or the girls have to do something. So it's difficult coordinating all that, but thankfully we have a rhythm now. My job's super relaxed and understanding, so if I have to leave 15 minutes early so she can make a meeting, I can make that 15 minutes up the next night. So that's something to look forward to if you're looking for a night shift job, getting that support. I mean, even any other shift job, just finding something that is supportive and understanding of being a parent, especially if you have limited support systems. Like childcare was one of the only support systems we had. We really didn't have family nearby. My wife's families, they're the closest, about 45 minutes away. And it's just her mom, her dad lives farther away. My family's over an hour and 45 minutes away. So it's always look into those support systems, see if there's extra after school activities, stuff like that. I've noticed is essential, especially if you are a new parent. Find that stuff that you can have and work on your mental health. Honestly, like I said at the top, your mental health matters. As somebody who's been in the Army, worked law enforcement, dealt with a whole different slew of things that have taken their toll on my mental health. It's not weakness getting help. You don't have to cry in front of the person. Just find out what's best for you. I don't like virtual. It just feels so disconnected. I'd rather do in person so I can chat with the person and actually talk with them. I mean, and if your mental health starts to decline, it takes its toll on your relationship, your friendships. You start isolating. That's where a lot of drinking came from. When I worked law enforcement, that was what helped me, was drinking, because it was just me. I wasn't married, didn't have any kids, just had my dogs. I'd come home, not do anything else, never went out, never spent time with my family. Just my mental health got so bad during that time. The sleep, and I was working doubles at the time, so it was sleep deprivation. I was working doubles almost every other day. Anxiety was even worse than it already is. Then the only people that you feel, because I was working second shift then, that understands you is people that work that shift, because everybody else thinks it's just a choice that you work that shift. They don't always realize that, you work second or third because you have to. That's how schedules dictate. You don't really get a choice, because not every first shift job is understanding. I tried taking a second job at Taco Bell and they were upset because I can only work 3 days a week. It's like, yeah, but I'm working 12-hour shifts the other 4 days a week. So your 3 days a week that you're getting from me where I'm showing up is the rest of my free time. So just that didn't last long, because it's like, yeah, I'm only working 3 days a week because this is a second job and it's Taco Bell. I mean, you're not exactly paying me enough to make it my full-time job when I'm making 20 something at my other job. So I can say, even if you have to take a slight pay cut, sometimes finding an employer that is understanding is so much better. I left the last place I was making 24 something an hour to where I'm at now making 21. The extra money kind of sucked taking that hit, but it's been so much nicer. If I punch in a minute late, I'm not getting points against me. If I have to take my kids to the ER, they're not going to slap me with points in a write-up. And it's just nice having an employer that's far more understanding. And like I said, the financial trade-offs, the shift differential's nice, but you might have to pay more for, therapy, medications, energy drinks. It'll take its toll on your health if you're having to buy fast food because you're rushing, the childcare, missing out on time with your kids. So look into all that when you're trying to decide what shift you want to work, where you want to work. Take your time too. Don't rush into leaving where you're at because where you're at sucks just because you find a place you think might be good, because you might, what's the saying, the grass isn't always greener. While it might be, it might also not be. If you think that the position you're going into is going to be worse, then don't take it. Like I had applied with Child Protective Services at one point and got good ways through the interview process and then realized that I would be going for a job with maybe a little bit more pay, but it'd be one that would take an absolute toll on my mental health. So please always remember to look out for stuff such as that, and then try to balance working nighttime and being a daytime parent. If you get time to yourself, do it. Even if it's just a couple minutes to read a book. Don't feel guilty about if you take an hour to play a video game. Prioritize what chores you need to do. Don't put them off forever, but if you're feeling worn out, take an hour and play a game, read a book or something, decompress, and then bust that stuff out the next day. Just make sure you don't run yourself too thin. I've felt horrible some days playing a video game and then realizing, the yard could have been mowed today, or I need to get the deck put in, I need to get the furnace filter cleaned. And so if nothing else, I found make a checklist that helps so much. I have one in my phone where you can put these little toggle boxes, and I have to-do list that I change all the time, and then a recurring one that's ones I just mark. I have like snowblow on there. Obviously, it's May, so that one's just checked as done, but then I have mow underneath it, so that one anytime I do it, I'll toggle it, mark it as complete. I found writing it down feels a little bit better to scratch them off, but the phone one just kind of seems nice. So find out things such as that to help kind of make juggling, working with being a parent and also getting your responsibilities done. Don't feel like you have to do stuff with other family. I hate feeling obligated to do something. Like my wife's sister wants all of us to go watch her do a run Friday or Saturday. I was like, I'm not doing that. I didn't like running in the Army. I'm not going to take two children who can't sit still to watch somebody run. Me and the two girls will stay at the house. We'll mess around, play basketball, mess around in the yard, all that. And you can go support your sister. I'm not going to tell you can't. I'll take care of the girls. But I'm not going to feel obligated that I have to go do that. But the sister was also trying to drag out like the grandparents who are, one has dementia and is a wheelchair, and the other one is just super frail and fighting cancer. It's like, why would you expect your family to do that? So never feel obligated to support somebody. While I would like to make them feel supported, I mean, at a certain point, if you're demanding people come out, you're taking away from their lives and stuff that they could be getting done. So that's what I told my wife. I mean, she kind of understands because she knows how I am, but I was like, you're soft, which she didn't appreciate as much. But just remember, take time for yourself. That's one of the ones I've been having the hardest time with the last few years, and just kind of getting my physical health in order, mental health, and just kind of maintaining that balance and not, relying on having a drink after work or binge eating, or once I smoked the nicotine. Just kind of do what you can to be healthier. Make sure you take your own health into account and you just take care of yourself. It's super important because your kids need you, and when you get that time, that downtime, make sure you take advantage of it. And just understand how, like I said earlier, the sacred the sleep is. Just make sure you are protecting your sleep, doing what little things you can. find out what works best for you. I also remember medications. I was on, I think it's amitriptyline, and I don't know what that stuff did to me, but one of the side effects was I would sleep through all my alarms. Every one of them. There was, when we had one of the older foster kids, she was 17. I would sleep through my alarms while taking it. So I had to kind of adjust when I took it or cut it out altogether. I had to make that hard choice because you can't sleep through alarms, especially when a kid's going to get out of school. So make sure to take that stuff into consideration too. That's something I never would have thought of until I realized that I was sleeping pretty much all weekend, not doing anything, not really getting up, not really getting out of bed, just kind of sleeping outside of work. And then, so the main things to remember, I'll kind of go over the list of them, is protecting that sleep, not feeling judged for missing events with other family, setting boundaries with that family, meal prepping. That one is a big one for not eating out, prioritizing quality over quantity with your kids, creating the rituals or the schedule that I've been doing, kind of having breakfast with them and sitting down with them in the morning, checking on how they're doing. Every day at dinner, I ask how their school days went, what they've been doing, talking with them, talking about like emotional stuff, and don't feel guilty for having to make a choice when you have to sacrifice something, especially if you have to work overtime. Just make sure to make it up at some other point, because if you promise something and then don't go through with it, kids remember that. The one kid, the toddler's brother, I think I refer to him as Repeat. The toddler's dad, who was different than his own, promised him a Switch, and the guy did not get it for him. That kid remembered. We had him for almost a year, maybe slightly over a year, and he did not get it to him, and that kid mentioned that Switch almost every day. So if you have to miss out on something, let the kid know that you'll do it, but then make sure you hold up to that. Kids' minds are everywhere, but they will remember that stuff. That, or when they do, they will be like, why didn't you do this? So just remember to stay emotionally present too, even when you're physically exhausted. And how do you do that? Honestly, I have no freaking idea. I've been trying to figure it out, and I've been trying to remember that money isn't worth missing out on the memories. As much as I love extra work and time, I also want to be able to spend time with the kids. And what does being a good parent look like when your schedule runs opposite to everyone else's? That's a hard one too. Just be there for your kids. If you have any suggestions on what you think like a good parent looks like, or suggestions on what you can do when you're working a weird shift, how you can support your kids, anything like that you've heard in this episode, please send it to me. I would love to hear from you. I know that there's so much I probably missed. These are just things I've been trying and starting on, like the scheduling. That's pretty new to me, but once I thought about it last night, I was like, that makes sense. I have no setup for my day, so there's no expectation of what's going to happen. That means I let a lot of stuff slide. And then especially at work, if my timer runs out for my social media, because I start with an hour, I'll usually bump it up. I need to stop doing that and find other creative stuff to do. So if you have any suggestions like this, send them my way. I would love to hear from anybody. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. You can email any of your suggestions to fosterdaddirective@gmail.com. You can send feedback, ideas, stories. If you want to come on and chat, please let me know. I forgot to put it in my notes again today. I have another funny dad joke. Hold on, I'm going to look one up real quick, because I've been meaning to do that, because I kind of want to do something like that to where it's not that other saying I have. While that's kind of interesting, I also want to make it so that I can actually have something interesting come up. When does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. So I love stuff like that. Cheesy jokes, puns, all of it. So I want to thank you so much for listening. I hope this is helping somebody. I haven't really gotten much response. I've had people reach out for interviews, but I get it. There's a billion podcasts, and I really don't put this one out there too much, especially with socials. So if you did somehow find this and did manage to bear through my voice, I do truly appreciate you. I am looking for another host to host this with me, so hopefully I can find somebody, bounce things off from, make it a little more interesting. I want to thank you so much for listening again. I'm pretty sure I just said that. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Please remember, I'll be streaming. I think I'm on Twitch and Kick. I believe it's Fosterdaddirective Sorry if you're hearing clicks right now. For Twitch, it is Veteran Gaming Combine, and for Kick, it's the same thing. It's kind of my catch-all. I'll stream games on there too, so don't be surprised if you see a notification I've gone live and it's me streaming a game instead of doing an episode. But I'm going to try for Wednesdays, at least at 8 p.m. I was a little late tonight. There are multiple days during the week at 8 p.m., kind of once I see how I can get people interested. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.